You're watching BCTV, Brantford's Community Access Station.
Welcome to Just Saying. We are thought-provoking, inspirational, and opinionated. We have such a special treat for you today. We did an on-location shoot in New York City, and we interviewed New York Times best-selling author Patricia Shultz, and she was fabulous. She was so gracious with her time and her...
So the book that she wrote.
The book, 1,000 Places to See Before You Die.
One of my favorites.
Okay? And we're going to bring that interview to you shortly. But first things first, we're going to have our beverage of the day. And today's beverage is my version of a Virgin Mary, okay? Most Virgin Marys are made, this is a non-alcoholic beverage. You know, a lot of times we go alcoholic, okay? But this is a non-alcoholic beverage.
So this is the non-tipsy time.
This is the non-tipsy. In case you're the designated driver, you can still have a good time and enjoy yourself. Typically, a Bloody Mary is made with tomato juice.
Yep.
I like to use low sodium V8.
Yes, so does my
It's healthier.
Yep, it's healthier.
It is healthier.
Tomato juice has a lot of sodium in it usually.
Oh, it always,
Yeah.
And I like to put a lot of lemon in it. And so this is 8 parts V8 to 1 part lemon.
Oh, it's yummy.
Okay, and then I spared you all because normally I would make these things so hot and spicy. You'd be
It's
like,
spicy enough, though.
But I like horseradish.
It's actually really good. I didn't put any
know.
horseradish
Yeah,
in this
I know.
one, but I did put
But I
hot
tasted
sauce in.
Tabasco.
So
It's
what do you
tangy.
think? Is it good?
It's good.
Yeah,
It's
yummy.
yummy.
It's great.
It's tangy.
You don't even
You should
notice
have
there's
had
no
a V8,
vodka
and
in
I
it.
can say I had a V8. I had my veggies for the day, right?
V8's one of my favorite things to drink.
Yeah, it is.
I
It's
love
fabulous.
V8.
Delish.
Isn't that good? Okay. So now, if you're at a party and you're the designated driver, you can still enjoy
Virgin
yourself.
Mary.
That
Okay.
works.
Go.
Oh, I think
Order
this
Virgin Mary.
has a jalapeno in the
This-
olive.
I like the
Yes,
olive.
the
Oh,
olive
is that what it
has a
was?
That's what it
jalapeno.
is.
That's
Oh,
the
that's
spicy.
you
jalapeno.
I'm wondering what was so spicy.
That's the spicy.
Yeah.
you warned me.
Yes.
I ate the olive, but I
Look at
didn't
it, like,
know.
there's a little thing in there. That'd be the jalapeno.
And typically I eat the olives
take
first,
that
so I'm
out.
glad I didn't.
Oh
this
my
time.
God,
No.
I never had one with a
Should've been on
jalapeno
fire.
inside.
All right, her on camera.
That's gone.
A jalapeno.
Jalapeno.
You guys are all right. Okay, well, I did make it spicy then, didn't
Oh
I?
my God. Hey,
It's
so what
spicy.
about that Pope?
I'm telling you.
Oh,
The Pope,
What did he do now?
we're one of
Pope
our
Francis.
hot topics today.
No.
The Pope is making an effort to make it, to change the rules about divorce in the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So maybe be a little more accepting, etc.
so you can get remarried in a Catholic church?
Well,
If
at
you've gotten
least
divorced?
communion.
You can get communion again.
You can't have communion right now
Yeah,
if
that was
you're
a little-
divorced,
that's a little
okay?
strange.
All right.
Along with this happening, our state governor, Dan Malloy, has signed into legislation a law that makes divorce easier for couples if they meet certain requirements. Under a certain amount of money they make, property value is under a certain amount, they've been married less than 8 years, etc. Okay?
Okay.
But you've got the Pope making divorce easier, and you've got the governor making divorce easier, and I have to tell you what, this totally saddens
It
me.
is very sad.
It's
know.
it's
I think it's a reflection of what's actually going on. With
Yeah.
divorce rates being 50% or more, it's just a reflection of the state and the Catholic Church trying to work with the families to make it a little
So why
simpler.
don't we make
But-
it more difficult to get
I,
married?
exactly.
Well, I say that
Exactly.
they
that.
should.
Make it more difficult, and there's a word that keeps being left out of these discussions, and it's commitment.
Yeah.
Marriage is a serious commitment. And I think that in our disposable society these days, that people don't look at it that way anymore. They just go, oh, everything's great in the marriage, but the first thing that goes wrong, done, on to the next one. And I think that's a very sad state.
Society is just so complex. Life is just so different than it was in the 50s and 60s that divorce is not going to go away. And we've talked before about starter marriages, and I'm divorced, my husband's been divorced, we're remarried and happily married, everything's great, but it isn't. It happens.
Yeah.
I agree with you all, but
Well,
I
think
disagree
the
as
stigma-
well. Go
I
for it.
waited-
Make it easier.
Yeah, I waited until I was 37 to get married. I never had I don't want to say the luxury of a starter marriage because I don't think it is a luxury for a lot of people. But that was a very purposeful intent for me. I didn't want to make that mistake and then have to go through the trauma because I would think that divorce is traumatic, having been the child of
No, and I
divorce.
Well, it
encourage
is
anyone who's
traumatic.
dating
And so-
to live with someone before they get married. Try it out first. Make
Yeah.
sure
You
you
know
like
what?
the person.
Well, listen to this. I waited till I was 35 to get married. I lived with somebody for several years before we got married. 20 years later, we're divorcing. And, it not necessarily is something that you can plan on. When people take a different road during their path, like my husband, with excessive drinking and having it affect the kids and us in our marriage, I couldn't control that. I tried for years to fix it. I couldn't do it. I finally had to say enough is enough. I need to protect me and the kids. I can't. I wanted the forever marriage too.
Do you think our governor, though, really needs to put something on the books to make it easier?
I think he could fix taxes before he fixes
I-
a divorce.
I think
that's
we should
the-
balance
that's
the
the
budget
best use
before
of
he
his
does
time,
the
of
divorce.
Yeah.
Of his time. Get started with that.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just I think it's just another disposable thing that we have going for us right now. No commitment, and children are being raised with step parents and this and that, and that's become the norm.
Yeah.
Whereas you have parents that are together seems to be not so normal.
It's interesting because
Well, we
Bob
could-
Jackson,
Well,
we
could
it
be
is
chatting
different.
about this for quite a while, but we have to take a break, and then when we come
talking
back,
about travel a little
we
bit.
are going to be showing you the interview of
that's
Patricia
exciting.
Shultz.
Get your passport
So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, welcome back. As you can tell, we're not in the studio right now. We are in New York City with Dodie and Stephanie, and we're so excited to bring you our show in New York because we are interviewing someone very special. Dodie, why don't you introduce our guest?
Sure. We are on location, as you said, in New York City, and I am thrilled to introduce to all of you the New York Times bestselling author of 1,000 Places to See Before You Die, and my friend, Patricia Shultz. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Coming to my hometown.
Yeah, we came to see you.
Patricia, you're from New York. Were you born
Well,
and raised
upstate
here?
New York,
Oh,
yeah,
upstate
but I've
New
been
York.
here since forever. It's odd to find somebody actually born and raised in New York City, but it's my adoptive home. I love it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
and in case you didn't hear, it's 1,000 Places to See Before You Die, which is a fantastic book. I was just telling Patricia, this was a Christmas gift one year. I gave it to a zillion people. But one of our obvious questions, so you love New York City. Is that one of your favorite cities?
Yeah, and really when you think about it, to be able to say that one of your favorite of countless places in the world is actually your home. So originally I chose it out of circumstances and a certain obligation to be near my family who lived in upstate New York, very beautiful, but not quite where I wanted to spend my life. But I just love it. I come home as excited to come home as I am from the trip I've just taken, so I'm pretty lucky in that way. But I love to travel and I love to come home, so it's a pretty wonderful package I've created. My home is one of my favorite places.
Well, you've done something absolutely marvelous. You've taken something you absolutely love to do, as you said, and you've created a job out of it that you get paid for. So you're doing what you love, you're passionate about it. How did it all start?
You know, I never really understood. I guess there were counselors in school, but I must have slept through those appointments. That had you understand that if you really love something, the concept of following it through and creating a profession or a career, or you know, your life story out of that was ultimately what you wanted to do. And I was too busy wondering, you know, what to do with my life and how to, you know, make my parents proud and how to create some kind of serious profession, while taking off on these trips to, you know, kind of understand my place in the world, but never putting the pieces together, never understanding that travel could be what would be, you know, my lifelong career. And suddenly, after having many years under my belt, somebody asked me to do a story, and then another one, and then a 5th one, and a 10th one, all of which paid nothing. But it opened this door, and the light bulb went off, and I realized, oh, there's a profession out there in the travel industry, and it's called travel writing. I had never studied travel writing. I never studied journalism or writing, but I guess I was capable of putting 2 sentences together that made some semblance of sense. And more importantly, loving travel and having that passion translate to what I was putting to paper. And so one thing led to another. I started writing guidebooks. Again, all of this really for years and years and years. I always had a 2nd job and a 5th job. It was never lucrative. It was never, however, an issue. And suddenly, you know, some better paying things happened, and that kind of sealed the deal. And I thought, oh, so if you stick at this long enough, you can pay the rent. So it gradually, but very gradually over time, became a paying profession that ultimately led to 1,000 places. And here I sit, a very happy camper, because after many, many decades of seeing the world and enjoying every imaginable moment of it and meeting incredible people along the way, I got a book contract that kind of sort of brought an entire lifetime of experience together. And now I have, you know, $11 in the bank, which is really unprecedented.
I'm curious, when that light bulb went off, do you remember where you were? Which trip you were on, where you were like on location?
I remember, no, but I remember getting on the phone and very proudly telling my parents that I think I had finally turned the corner. I think that my parents were possibly some of the most understanding and supportive, unconditionally supportive, as you hope parents are. But really it was a very unconventional lifestyle their child was following. And there's a great quote about how it's so important to pick the right parents. Yeah. Boy, did I pick them well. They had never traveled. My father had dropped out of school in the 9th grade. He was a depression baby. But they understood that whatever it was their crazy daughter was doing, it brought her enjoyment.
Did you have siblings that were also
Yeah,
traveling?
but night and day, apples and oranges, country mouse, city girl.
Interesting.
And yet we're very close. So she, you know, revels in what I do, and I sit back and think, wow, she makes a great quilt. Yeah. We're very different, and yet we're very close.
I'm interested to know, I mean, obviously, for people that are familiar with the book, it's, you know, it's close to 1,000 pages, I think. And how long did it take you to write that? And could you do this yourself? Did you really go to all these places?
Well, ironically, in order to gather 1,000 places, one would think I was living on a plane, traveling the world, and yet to put it all together and research and do the rewrites and all of the, you know, humdrum drudgery of putting a 1,200-page book together. It's really like an encyclopedia. You more or less have to be chained to your keyboard, writing, you know, 8 days a week. So it was an odd balance that, as the first-time author of a book this size, I had always worked as a team, or had done slim volumes of guidebooks, etc. But this was the world, and I was being asked to do something of, you know, a magnitude I was not familiar with. And yet, the German in me, my father is German, my mother is Italian. So I tapped into my father's Germanness, which was, you know, you stick to it and you do what you got to do. I had signed a contract, I had committed to it, and you get done what you have to do. So I took on all kinds of side jobs. I would,
While you were writing it.
And I would rent my apartment for 2 months and go off and come back and work like crazy, and then rent my apartment for 1 month and go off and enjoy the world and come back. And so it was 8 years. So it was 8 years of a very, it was a challenge. And my advance, which seemed awfully handsome in the moment it was offered, disappeared, I think, in the first 3 weeks at Kinko's, because it's just the research and just the, trying to make sense of it. I created entire archives, and you don't want to see what my apartment looked like in those 8 years.
Could you get any discounts or help from some of the, if you stayed in the same hotel around the world?
Well, the irony is that in those days when it was like Patricia Who, 1000 what, nobody would answer my phone calls when I really needed the help, when the boards of tourism really should have, gotten on the phone and say, what can we do? But nobody answered my calls. I was kind of flying solo and trying to be creative, and, it was the best experience in that way. But now that it's established and world renowned, and it's translated in 25 languages, it's known around the world, and my phone is not ringing off the hook. But if I needed to call in for, maybe a comped hotel in, Nairobi, I could probably find one. But still, it's tough, because boards of tourism have great intentions but no budget. So I'm still, I'm still on my own. But that's fine. It somehow gets written, and it gets constantly updated. And I have a lot of friends who travel as much as I.
I was just going to say that really the 1,000 places, and doing a little research on Patricia too, it's really more than just a book. It's really become your brand, because you have other 1,000 books coming out, right?
Yeah, none of which were written by me.
Oh, interesting.
We have, because it's not my specialty, and there are only so many hours in my day.
1,000 foods, or?
Well, I did 1,000 Places World Book, and which is what we've been talking about, and I did 1,000 Places in the USA and Canada. So that's more enough to keep my life chock full. But we did hire the music editor of the Philadelphia Inquirer to write 1,000 recordings to hear. Recordings and not records and not CDs and not songs, because in this technical age it kind of encompasses everything. And that's really cool, because it's, from Beethoven to the Beatles and world music and swamp pop and Dixieland. I mean, it's everything. It's really wonderful. Also 1,000 pages. And then just recently we released 1,000 foods to eat. While I would have loved to have done that, we had contracted Mimi Sheraton, who is the New York Times food critic, and she's very established and very respected in her world.
So everybody has their little niche under the 1,000 umbrella, which is fantastic.
So I do want to get back to this, because like Lisa, I have an early version, I think maybe 2008 or 2009. And I think it should be on everyone's bookshelf for sure.
Agreed.
But I noticed that in going through, it appears to be for more of an affluent traveler. Do you have any tips, maybe going back from your early days, for how to travel on a budget?
Well, it's affluent in that and it has changed much over the years, because I try to give something very, once in a lifetime. How often do you go to Paris for your 50th? As well as something that's equal in charm and service, but maybe, a family run in that's third generation, that's, a fraction of the cost. But I think that ultimately it's the destination and the place and the city and the region and the country, and how you choose to experience it is often up to you. Do you have to stay, in $1 million a night hotel that I'm suggesting if, you go on safari once, and this is, where Teddy Roosevelt set up camp? But I think airfare is often the clincher. Do you make it happen or not? Oh my God, look at the airfares. But off-season is an incredible time to travel. It's minus the crowds, it's minus, the long lines in the museums, and often just as nice weather. Not always. Do you want to save up your dollars and go to Thailand and find out that off-season means that it's monsoon and you never make it out of it? So you need to do your homework. But airfare is always a big deal. But I just saw that it was from New York to Paris, 199 round trip.
Wow.
January, February, and March in Europe are super low season, and you just need to kind of
need to pay attention. I actually have an app that will tell you when there's a deal.
And now with Airbnb and with home swaps, I mean, if you have a home that you own, or maybe even not, you can, my friend who has a 1-bedroom condominium in a not great neighborhood in New York swapped her 1-bedroom home in New York City, the Big Apple granted, for a 3-bedroom Tuscan villa in Chianti outside of Florence for a month. So that
sounds awesome.
Tuscan wants to come to, this Gotham City as much as we want to experience. So the home swap is a great, and it's become so popular as well. So that eliminates that cost, and then et cetera, et cetera.
Do you still do a lot of traveling? I know you're always working on updating, and which is great because we get new editions, so the book is never going to go old. But like, what is a tip? I'm just curious of what a typical day is in Patricia Shultz's life. Is there a balance between home? Are you writing a lot, or are you traveling more? Or
well, the great thing is that typical doesn't exist.
yes, I know. Which makes
And
it fun.
I often have to sit down with myself over coffee in the morning and say, what am I doing today? And, oh yeah, I'm leaving for the airport. Better pack. So it's, some years I'll be away more than I'm home, and other years, the opposite. Some months I'll be gone the entire month and home for 3 days and leaving again. And now I'm greatly looking forward to January and February, where I'm kind of home to familiarize myself with home. So I'm always researching and writing. I do a lot of magazine writing. I have a great love, believe it or not, for Facebook.
Interesting.
Yeah, they brought me to it kicking and
Find her on
screaming.
Facebook.
I have over 3 million followers, and the interaction is wonderful because these are really not veteran travelers, but passionate travelers. And the comments I hear is some people travel next to never, but they want to think about it, and they're inspired by it, and they want to plan it, and they want to hear about where I'm going or other places in the world, and they're inspired from their keyboard and from their computer screen or their device or however they're logging in, and it's very satisfying to me to know that people have taken from 1,000 places a great source of inspiration, even if they travel not half as much as I.
Yeah, it's a great bucket list resource, I think,
Yeah.
for people. And what we'd love to do is sort of a little speed round of some fun facts, so we can get to know you really quick. As we could talk to you forever, but unfortunately we're limited with time.
Or just
But,
listen. I just love hearing all this.
So we'll throw out some questions that we can think of. I already asked you what your favorite American city is, which I think is New York City.
Well, favorite. There's favorite for food, there's favorite for culture.
Right.
Okay, what's your favorite for food?
New York.
New York.
But,
Favorite for culture.
but food is also Charleston, New Orleans,
That's
Vegas.
true.
Who'd have thought Vegas 10 years ago it was all about that buffet for $9.99? But it's very upmarket. I mean, the chefs there are world class.
yes.
And Charleston's becoming a very foodie city.
Yeah, we have our
Yeah.
seven
I'm from
bellwethers.
Savannah, so
Oh, and
yeah.
Savannah too.
Yeah.
What about, all right, and
San Francisco.
we'll try to do, I love San Francisco too. What about favorite worldwide city outside of the States?
I love the big cities. I love Hong Kong, I love Rio, I love Paris, I love Berlin. Each very, like Friends, each one with a different character, with a
that's
different promise of it. Like you don't call, one friend if you want to go shopping and another one for, every city
true.
offers, guarantees really a different experience. So, and Rome and Venice and Zagreb, Eastern European cities that maybe are not like Krakow and Poland are on everybody's list.
What else? Favorite exotic island or Caribbean, or maybe not even Caribbean, but just your favorite
Well,
island?
Caribbean, for example, very undeveloped, uncommercial, very nature and kind of raw, which you wouldn't think exists in the Caribbean, is Dominica, which is not to be confused with Dominican Republic. The Dominican Republic, I just heard, was rated the #1 for golf. Not just in the Caribbean, but in the world.
Yeah.
I don't golf, so I wouldn't. But Dominica is very beautiful, and it's very rugged, and it's like rain jungle and great hikes and very eco-friendly, small, romantic inns, etc. And beautiful beaches in the Caribbean is Anguilla. Oh my God. And I'm not a beach person, so you really have to have gorgeous beaches to have me sit here and say, oh my God.
And what about favorite airline? Because you must travel.
Oh, they don't exist.
They don't.
A favorite airline does not.
Isn't Emirates supposed to be like so fantastic?
They are, but Qatar is supposed to be, or Qatar,
yeah, yeah.
is supposed to be one of the best. And I flew, and it is if you're flying business or first, because you're related
Yeah.
to the Sheikh of Bahrain.
Yeah.
But if you fly short distance, which, long haul, 14 hours. But if you fly short distance, like 4 or 5 hours, which I did from, I think, South Korea to Sri Lanka, this all sounds very exotic, it was horrible. So, even there's nothing guaranteed. And Alitalia, I'm Italian, my mother's Italian, I thought, let's give Alitalia a chance. I canceled my flight. Instead of taking, like 9 hours to get home from Italy last week, it took me 3 days.
Oh.
So, and Alitalia supposedly was on the upswing because they've been bought by Emirates.
Oh, boy.
So it's all very unpredictable.
And, our time is running out,
know.
but I can't leave without asking you, what place is still on your bucket list? Is there any left? Is there anything in this world?
And my friends are there now, and I commented on the return email that, I really had to go, and he wrote back and he said, what?
Where?
He said, I've been someplace you haven't. I haven't been to New Zealand.
Oh,
And
that's
I
so
hear
beautiful too.
it's so beautiful. The North Island, the South Island. They filmed the trilogy of the Rings. And it's, something they couldn't create on a lot in Hollywood. So they went to this island, which is supposed to be just stunningly beautiful. Yeah.
Patricia, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
It was
Thank
such
you
a
for being
pleasure.
with us. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
And we'll be right back.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the interview with Patricia Shultz. She now has a new book out. She just released it. It is the new second edition.
New edition.
And it's got 200 entirely new destinations. So
Get your bucket list ready.
more great places to see before you die.
Oh, fun.
We were just teasing Dodie during the break. We asked what her bucket list destination would be, and she said
Cape Cod.
We're all thinking like,
Let's go!
Cape
Field
Cod.
trip!
That's sort of a staycation.
No, I want a
isn't it?
Mediterranean cruise.
There's-
We knew we
Patty
could
wants
do just
Mediterranean.
Sayin trip.
I want to go to Antarctica really bad.
Okay.
And
I also
Dubai.
want to go to Africa. I
And
want to
me
go on a
too.
safari. I want to go to
Me too.
South Africa. I want to go
Fiji.
see one of my old parents
Fiji
get
is also
married.
on my
Yeah.
list.
that's
Africa
nice.
is mine.
In one of those huts in the middle of the water.
Yeah. Oh, that looks
one of
gorgeous.
those,
I
yeah.
want that.
Oh,
Let's see. How about Belize? Has there
That's
anybody
in
ever
Central
been
America.
to Belize?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
nice.
is it
It's
good?
beautiful.
I want to
Rainforest.
hear
How about
what
Rio?
Maybe they can comment on Facebook.
How about
let
Rio?
us know messages
Yeah.
where they've been. Where would you recommend
What would you
vacation?
like to? Where would you like to go on your bucket list?
Yeah, chime in. It was
So
fun.
let us
fun.
know. Go on our Facebook page. Let us know where you would like to go. And until
see you
next
next time.
time,
Just
just
saying.
saying.
Just saying. Cheers.
Travel safe.